Okay, so in today's lesson, I'm just going to give you an overall view of the software, the layout, and the settings that you can change to make it your own, to make the best experience for you. Yeah, I'm not going to go into detail in every single tool or anything like that. I just want you to kind of be familiarized with how the software looks like and where things are found. And throughout the lessons, you're obviously going to get more details about each tool and where are they located. But I know that sometimes it's very daunting when you open a software and everything looks very different. It's no Photoshop, it's no Illustrator where everyone kind of knows where everything is. So I just want to make sure you are not that scared to start. So I'm just going to show you where everything is, okay? So the most important thing is to understand that you have a 3D window where you're going to simulate everything on your avatar, and a 2D window where you're going to make the patterns as flat patterns, pattern making like we do in any other software. You can make them in Illustrator and save them in PDF and put it here, or you can make them in here straight away with the tools that Clo provides. And I have to be honest, Clo is really good to make patterns. Some people don't really like it, but they do give you a lot of tools that help make the patterns manufacturer ready. You don't have to be afraid. You can use this to make clothes that are only digital, but you can also use this to make clothes and patterns that are going to be manufactured. Clo provides both things. That's the main difference between Clo and Marvelous Designer. They are both from the same company, but Marvelous is focused on digital only, and Clo can give you digital and also give you physical garments. You can take the garments from here. You have the fabrics that you can do the layout on the fabric. You have the DXF export. You have all the different details to put on your patterns, annotations, and everything like that. So for people that wonder, that's the main difference between Clo and Marvelous. Marvelous is mainly digital only, and Clo is digital and physical garments. And then starting with the layout, at the top, you have your main buttons. So File, where you open new project, new garment. You can open another project, or you can add a project on top, or different elements. Save your project, save as. Share with Closet, which is a part of Clo, as a different subscription. It's part of Clo as well, so it's linked here. Import something, so you can import PDFs, you can import DXF, OBJ, FBX, so plenty of import options, everything you need really. And you can also export as DXF, PDF, or Plotter, which is like a manufacturer kind of machine, so sometimes they request that. Fabrics, tech packs, OBJs, we're gonna go through this throughout all the course, but just so you have an idea. Snapshots just takes like screenshots of your 2D window or your 3D window. Video capture also takes video capture, turntable, or animation. Video capture is in low quality, so it's not a render. So I use this in a way where I'm testing an animation, I want to send it to the client, but I do not want to render before I have the confirmation that he likes the animation that I have. So I would send a video capture animation, let him know that it's not render quality, but then if he confirms, if the client confirms that they like it, I'll make the render animation. Recent is just the most recent files that you opened, information of the garment, or file history, or quit, okay? Edit is your normal undo, redo, delete, copy, paste. 3D garment is everything that is on this side here, but on a list form. And the 2D is everything that is in here, but also on a list form. Sewing gets a separate tab, so edit sewing, sewing segments, free sewing, everything here, okay? Tags also here, which is this tool here. This makes it easier if you're trying to find a tool, but you don't really know how it looks like. So you can come here and look on the list and just select that tool. Materials, so anything texture, graphics, button, zipper, piping, binding, anything like that is here. Editor, this is the one that kind of gets updated the most because they keep adding new tools. So usually they put it here. So you have BOMs, colorway, parametric pattern, review, and fabric creator. Fabric creator is our most updated tool here, so you guys are gonna see how that works. But yeah, avatar, so you have everything related to the avatar, from deleting it to delete the scene, to different measurements. So this is all the tapes that you can put on the avatar to measure something. You have play motion if you have any animation going. You have avatar editor. We need an avatar to be open so we can edit the avatar, but that's going to be a different lesson. But yeah, everything related to avatar, convert to motion, convert to avatar. There's this tool here, convert to face, that uses AI to give a different face. And also you can register a accessory that goes with that avatar. So you can make a pair of shoes and register that, and next time it'll be linked to that type of avatar. So you just open that and it's going to function just like any other default accessories in Clo. And then you have the render tab. So once you open the render, there's a lot of settings that you're going to be using to make the render. So I'm not gonna initiate one, but this is how the settings look like. And when you click on them, they open down here. But yeah, render is it's a whole thing on its own. So I'm not gonna touch on that. But this is where you find the render window. And if you do have a subscription with Closet, you can render on the cloud. So that can help when your computer is not as powerful as, it could be. And then you have display. So it's just anything related to display. Here's where you would change, your avatar view. You can see on the side of it, there is shortcuts. The ones that have the numbers or anything like that, it's a shortcut, so you can just use 2, 3, 8, 6 to change the viewing point of your 3D window. 3D garments, 3D trimmings, 2D, those are these ones. Okay, those here. And the 2Ds are these ones here. So you click, more things show up, and you're gonna use them as well. And preferences, you can change the gizmo. Usually the default is a screen coordinated one, but you can use local coordinated or world coordinated. I'm just gonna keep it on default because I think it's just easier. I have used the other ones, but default one is the best one for me. Smart guide, snap to pattern, things that already come default, okay. Snap to grid, so it would snap to the lines here. Grid properties if you want, camera properties, simulation properties, everything like that. And then settings, where you can change the language. So currently these are the languages that they have. So Italian, Portuguese, Vietnamese, not sure what that one is. French, Spanish, English, Korean, and I'm not sure which one is Chinese and Japanese. I'm sorry, but I know that one's Korean. I just don't know the other ones. But you can change the language, which would change the whole thing. For the class here, for the lessons, I'm gonna keep it in English. User settings, so this window pops up and you can change it according to your computer. So I keep my one at 32 and blending mode alpha blending, but there are other types of blending here that you can use. View controls, you can change as well. None of these ones I've changed. I have everything on default. So everything that I do on my end, if you keep your one on default, it should work the same. If you change, then, your one's going to be different than mine. So you have to just keep that in mind when you make any alterations to the presets. I use a regular mouse, but you can have a different kind of mouse. You can have a style. So a pen, a Wacom or a XP pen or Magic Mouse. So yeah, my one's a regular mouse. Same thing for the X's and keys and things like that, and autofocus. I'm not changing anything because I don't want to confuse you guys with what I'm doing and what you are doing. Here's shortcuts. I also keep them default, but you are able to change them. So you can reset them and change them if you want. On user interface, you can change your unit system. So I keep my one on centimeters or inches depending on the client. So if I'm working with an American company, I would have the project in inches. And if I'm working with European or South America or anything like that, I use centimeters. And the unit will be related to the project. So if you reopen the project, it will have that unit. You can change the unit for the thickness of the thread. I also keep it default at text because that's most of the time what everyone uses. Currency in dollars. Dollars is the base currency for everything. So I just keep it in dollars as well. And then default mode. So when my Clo opens is on simulation, which is this page here. But you can have it on animation, on print layout, or UV editor. I also keep my 3D bar on the left and the 2D on the right, which is this here, okay? So if I change it to the top, for example, and this one to the top, and I close, it will change, it will go to the top. That's not really how I like it, but you can do that if you want. So going back to user settings and user interface, I'm gonna keep my 3D on the left and the 2D on the right. So it gives me this middle without anything collapsing or, you know, anything in the middle. I just want the middle to be clear, and you can use the tools on either side, but just know that you are able to change them and put them on either side, at the top or at the bottom. And the render toolbar as well, you can change. My one's on the right, so it will show up here on that window, but it can also be at the top. Here you can change the color of the lines, so you can change the color depending on what you want, but I keep it default. So my one, pattern outlines are black, internal lines are red, baselines are purple, selection is yellow, and if you hover over something is blue, and a notch is red. And my line length is currently 6, never changed it. Same thing with thickness, never changed it, or the notch also, I never changed it. I'll maybe make my notch a bit bigger because sometimes it's hard to see it. So I'm gonna make it 1 pixel. Highlights on the 3D window as well when you're using different tools. So on the actual simulation, 3D patterns are, you know, if you click on it, it goes green. If it's frozen, it goes blue. If it's straightening tool on it, it goes kind of orange. Layers are green and bond is brown. Solidified is gray. You're gonna use these ones quite a lot, okay? You have more that you can do on your 3D. So my mesh is currently triangles, which it makes everything fall better. But if you need your program to run a bit smoother, if your computer is not very strong, you can change it to quads, which is like more of a square. But the actual look of it is not gonna be as smooth as you want. So keep it on triangle if you can. And then my default arrangement shape type is curved. My point size is 18. My gizmo is unified. It's not a divided gizmo. It's all in the one. For the 2D window, I use particle distance as 20, which is very high, but that's how you want to start because it makes the program run faster. And the lower the number, the more quality you get. So usually when you finish with something, you would have maybe a particle distance at 10 and the smaller things at 5. And then the other thing as well, your notch, I have it fixed to the screen. So if I zoom in, zoom out, the notch goes smaller and bigger, but you can have it keeping it the same size the whole time, even if you zoomed in or zoomed out. I think it just makes sense when you're zooming in for it to get bigger and when you're zooming out to get smaller. Other things like Fabric Creator, you're gonna be more familiarized with everything after you start using it. So you can use it on default and then come back here and look at the settings and see if you change anything, if it's going to make your life easier. But I just have everything on, and here you're going to find your modular library. You also have to, they give you like a default folder for it. You can change it if you want. Object browser as well. When replacing an object, use an updated name, use current name, things that you're going to be choosing and changing if you want. Colorway, when assigning an item to a pattern, maintain colorway, or assign a colorway only, assign to colorway by linked color, assign to colorway by unlinked color. That's what I have now. So if I make any changes to a colorway, it's only to that one colorway. It's not going to change all the other ones. Plotter settings, it's very specific. You're mainly going to change anything if you know what the manufacturer wants. But I would just keep it on default if you're not sure, because it has worked with all the manufacturers I worked on. If they have anything specific, obviously just change that. Your download path, you can change it if you want. And if you want to register any open textures, you can register here. Default files, this is where you're going to put where you want everything to be saved, mainly for the autosave feature. So project file, if it autosaves, it saves to this folder. Make sure there will be enough space because your files can be corrupted if it tries to autosave and there's not enough space on the computer or on the memory or on that folder to save. So it will get corrupted and there's no way to get it back. It happened to me maybe 3 or 4 times in the space of like 4 years, but it's very frustrating when it autosaves and then you think your file is all done, your project is all done. You close it, and even if you go back to, the project that you saved on your own, you gave your own name, everything like that, not the autosave file, but the normal file, it will still be corrupted. So not great. Okay. Avatar files as well, where you want to save them if you make avatars, fabrics, textures, mainly just where everything is saving and what format they're saving. Same thing for simulation properties and autosave. Time between, autosaves. Don't put it too low, because every time it autosaves, it kind of freezes a little bit, stops everything, saves, and then you can do it again. If you do it every 5 minutes, if you do it every 10 minutes, it just means you're going to be interrupted over and over and over again in that short space of time. So my one is on 30 minutes. I think it's more than enough. You can get a lot done in 30 minutes, but if you lose 30 minutes is not too bad. But every 10 minutes, it just gets in the way and it just makes everything kind of slow. To me, 30 minutes works, and file type is obviously project, and where it's going to be saving. I have it on clone, backup, autosave. But yeah, just go through this if you want to change where things are going to be saving. If if you have like a different memory on your computer for projects, if you have an external memory, you can come here and change and make folders for those things. Here's any plugins that you have. I don't have any plugins, but if you do. And Closet is, as I said, a different software. This is the user settings for it. And then I'm gonna close, and then obviously help if you want the menu or online or Q&A, features, versions. And continuing up here, you have the Everywhere tab, which is a tool that is still on beta phase, and it changes your clothes to fit any avatar. So you can have human avatars, alien avatars. That outfit will change to fit that avatar automatically. So it's pretty cool. I not used it a lot, but it just seems really, really cool. I guess we're gonna learn more about it together. This is your close set button as well, so if you want to share to your close set file. And down here you're going to change the type of window. So right now we're currently on simulation. If you want to animate, we'll change to animation. This is what it looks like with the timeline and everything. Print layout is where you're going to get your patterns to fit a certain type of fabric, with the width and the length. It's pretty good to send to manufacturers and give people an idea of how much fabric they're going to be using to make that outfit. Emulator is where you can make your own fabric using this tool. This is where you would take a physical fabric and take measurements and different type of stretching numbers and things like that to make the digital version of it. Only available for companies. You don't get this tool on individual accounts. So I never really used it because I don't get this tool on my subscription. Usually if you're on like an enterprise subscription, they would give one of these to the company, but I don't get that. So we're not using these ones. But there are other ways now that they added to the software with the Fabric Creator to make fabrics that are very, very similar to real life, where you can add the composition with exact numbers and change the texture and everything. So it looks pretty real and it simulates pretty realistically as well. And then the last one here is the UV editor, where you're going to edit your UV maps. This is important if you're going to transfer this to Blender or Cinema 4D or Unreal Engine, and you need the UV maps to be coordinated right. Going back to simulation, you have on this side the library, where you're going to find all your garments, avatars, hangers, fabrics, trimmings. These are basically folders with everything that you're going to need. And you can add your own folders. This one, for example, is my own folder. This one is my own folder. And you would just add using the add button here and finding that folder in your computer. And sometimes there's like a blue tick next to it. That means that needs updated. So you would just click here to download new updates on those folders. Okay. And down here, if you click on garment, this here shows up. Avatar, this shows up. So the folder shows up here. I'm going to open an avatar. Any default avatar will do. you just double click and that will open up. And then up here you can minimize that again. History is everything that you've done in your project. So instead of going back in time with the shortcuts, you can just come to the list, look where you want to go back to, and click, give it time, and it will take all those actions away and go back to that moment in the project, which is pretty fantastic. I use it a lot. And I'm pretty sure you're going to see me using it here in this course. Modular library, you have your own blocks or you have blocks already made from Clo. So I'm gonna use a block. So you have group, category, style, and block, which is literally just a folder within the folder within the folder. So group, women, basic, and I'm gonna give her a t-shirt. And I can choose then what front do I like. That's where the modular setting comes in handy, because it's like all different parts of the garment all separately. And color. Okay, so those are default ones, but you can add your own, make your own. And I'll show you guys how to do that later on. And I'm going to simulate this. This is the simulation button, just to add that to her and stop. On this side, you have the object browser. So this is just everything that is happening. So every part of the garment, every sewing that you have, just kind of a list of things that are already in motion in the project. And then files of the fabrics. So fabric 1, body, body, sleeve, body. These are just defaults for these. So if I click on this part of the garment, you can see that that's the fabric that's being used. And obviously we're going to go through it more in detail. This one here is the graphics. So any graphics that you add to the garment is going to show on a list here. Buttons as well, buttonholes, top stitch, puckering, trimmings, grading, and measurements, okay, POMs. That's the object browser. And if you click on anything on the object browser, the property editor will come up in handy, and that's where you're going to be able to change things on this fabric. For example, if I click here, I'll be changing that fabric. If I go to the button, I'll be getting the properties for that button. So it's the property for whatever is selected up here, okay? And obviously everything has different properties, and you learn more throughout the course. And you can also minimize this to give you a bigger screen if you like, and this moves as well. But yeah, and then on the sides here you have all the tools that we're going to be learning in detail throughout the course. Don't panic, it's okay. It's going to be fine. I'll see you guys in the next one, where I'm just going to be teaching you a little bit of navigation and also shortcuts. I know I talked about shortcuts a little bit, but I'm just going to give you the shortcuts I use the most and just some navigation tricks and tips. Okay? See you in the next one.